Welcome to Tech This Way.
Okay, first of all, is it okay for you to like just tell me a bit about what are the direction of the interview should be? Nanti tak adalah terkejut sangat dapat you punya call, you punya soalan.
Okay, so senang sahaja.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning.
Dah start ke?
Yes. Now, basically, it's not a interview per se. It's just a conversation. I like to bring people in who are the two angles. So, one angle is from entrepreneurship standpoint.
Okay.
Kan? So, a lot of
Mhm.
people who have interesting profiles and journeys, and they've done and started a lot of things in their lives. Kan? So, that's where I saw your profile, and and there's two things lah. One is this Meraki thing, and the other one is the Sisters of Success. It's like, apakah ini? Kan?
That is something.
Ha.
That is something that I just come out with actually,
Huh.
because I'm always a believer in women empowerment. Okay, because we started earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. Before anything, can I like give some introduction about myself? Is it
Yes.
okay?
So start. So with these things, you can go as far back as you want to share your
Experience
your
engineer.
experience, yeah, and how you landed where you are.
Okay. As you can see inside my profile, Siti Mariam Samin, in LinkedIn, possible if anyone want to search for me. Okay, I graduate as a physics. I studied physics for my
Okay.
degree,
Kat
and
mana?
then in Universiti Malaya,
Okay.
and then I continue my master in applied engineering,
Okay.
applied science. So it's considered it's engineering.
So you are from KL.
No, I'm origin from Johor.
Okay.
And then, but I stay in KL. I was born in KL and stay in KL for the past like 15 years already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, coming back to that, during this economy recession, and as you know, based on my experience, my family has gone through economy recession like twice, back in 1998 and back in 2008. So during that time, I already see that my father is actually a senior manager and also general manager in the oil and gas company. So whenever economy recession hits, this is where I can see like the changes in my family, whereby that is where my father got VSS, laid off or something like that. And to be honest, when you get laid off at the age of like around 50, it's very hard for you to get a job. So that is where I
Yeah.
see how my mom, she was forever a housewife. And when this thing hits, when the situation like this hits, my mom take the responsibility and the challenge to open up her own business. So she said that, okay, I was always I always been a housewife, and then what business can I start?
Yeah.
So she said that I only know how to serve my family and also cook. That is the thing that, and then go to school, pick up the kids, and then come back, something like that. The normal housewife do. But and then she said that nevertheless we have 6 siblings, so we have mouth to feed kids. So she decided to open a restaurant business back in our hometown, which is in Johor. So from there I
How
can
old were
see,
you then?
Oh, I was very young. It's about 12.
Okay.
12 years
So
old.
you saw this lah. Kan?
I
Ha.
saw I saw a lot of things.
And you were at the age where you're aware of what's going on.
Yes, I'm already aware, because you can see when you have like financial difficulty. So we know, because I don't come from a like very rich family. It's like very normal lah, because my dad is what you call it, paid
Salary,
salaried person, right? So from the, because when you talk about general manager, so the income is quite high at that time, and he is with the oil and gas company. He's my father is actually, he is engineer, chemical engineer. So, and then when this thing happened, then suddenly when you have like this monthly salary, and then suddenly everything's like cut off.
Suddenly zero.
Yes, and then with the some of the money from the VSS, so my mom decided to, because at that time my father, I remember, I'm sorry that he's having like depression already, because he's come from a kampung boy in in Batu Pahat and then work his ass up, go to US to study and something like that, and then landed in the oil and gas industry. So he was never in a business industry before. But my mom, on the other hand, our mix of surrounding, my uncle, my auntie, some of them already started to do business. So when this thing happened, my mom said that I can only cook. This is the only thing that I can do. So she decided to start a restaurant. So our first restaurant is at when I was 12 years old. So since I was 12 years old, I already had around in the restaurant. So got back from school and then take my buku and then on the I sit on the counter. So I dah pandai dah, the money exchange tu I already know how to do,
Oh, that's good training, eh? Right
So
from
it's very good
age,
training, and at the same time I help around at the restaurant and take orders and something like that. So sometimes when not enough stuff, I kena pergi masuk belakang basuh pinggan.
yeah.
So I grew up with that kind of environment, and alhamdulillah, with my mom wisdom. Because my mom, she's a very a survivor. So we managed to open up to 3 restaurants within 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I grew up in the restaurant environment since I was very young. And then the second recession hits. At that time, I was 19 years old. During I got into college.
Okay.
So since then, I know how this situation is. And together, when you talk about recession, even the food industry also get affected. So and then I'm the 4th child, and we still have another 2 younger siblings, which is still studying. So I said to myself, okay lah. So I just work while I'm studying. So since I was young, I already self-financed my own studies since my degree.
Right.
And I managed to finance myself. I managed
What
to
were you
support
doing?
myself. Since I managed to support myself during my degree without no problem, a bit of hassle and challenge, but there again without no problem. That's why I decided to continue my master also.
Okay.
So all the way self-finance. So during that time, how I survived, 15 years back, I think, 15 years back, in the university, there is no entrepreneurship program.
Okay.
Only those who are in the business industry. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm from physics. Can you imagine? We don't even touch any entrepreneurship, how to survive or something. The survival kit in the university, we have not been taught on that. But luckily, since I already exposed to business since I was young, so I know how easy it is to make money. So that is where your creativity starts to come out with anything. So I already start my business since I was 21 years old. And then I started with the online business. At that time, Facebook, what you call it? Selling things in Facebook. At that time, is very new.
Okay.
That is like 15 years ago. It was very new. So I already started with all that. At that time,
But what
there
did
is
you
no
do?
Facebook ads. Can you imagine? There is no Facebook ads at that time. So I already know how to manage to sell things online.
What did
and
you
do
sell?
things.
What was the business?
It is actually a fashion apparel.
Okay.
Whereby I have my own business with my partner, which is silk screen. So we
Silk
do
screen.
design.
Okay, yeah.
They do designing. So I silk screen ourselves. So we
Okay.
do it at the back of the college or something like
Ah.
that. So whenever we got order, okay, we do. But it is a small business because we just a student at that time, and then we start selling food here and there just to survive. So during my college years, I already started to learn how to survive on my own without even asking money from my parents. So that is how And then I remember I started a business. I failed. I started a business. I think Meraki is my 6th or 7th business.
Right. Yeah.
Because I said to myself at that time, maybe because I was still young and I don't have the basic business skill, entrepreneurship skill to do. But somehow I'm thankful that along the years, I learned from my real life experience. Some people, they go for business school, right? They learn theoretical. But me, on the other hand, I seen it with my first hand. I see it in reality how it works. I seen it how I remember my mom, even though in a restaurant, but my mom is very systematic. She already have this ledger book. So the sales come in, and then what do we spend today? It's a very simple, just in and out money only. So from there, I already learned how.
These basics lah,
how
right?
the basic.
Of
So I
running a
tried to
business.
apply it in my business, and alhamdulillah, is surviving at that time. Surviving,
Yeah.
just for me to survive, and then it hit me on something. No matter how good your business is, no matter how great your idea is, the most vital point in doing business is actually how you marketize and strategize your business.
Okay.
Meaning how you market your business and also how you strategize your business model. So this is something that I learned, because usually if people go to business school, they will learn this from the lecturer theoretical, but I learned this through hard way. That is how most of my business fail
Right.
before this, because I don't know how to pivot it, the situation. I don't know how, when the trending keep on changing,
So
especially in business.
go through an example of one of those businesses that you started and then that failed, and what did you learn?
Some of them not fail Ada so
Change.
many.
Go through one.
Okay, one of business is I started with I sell like I said just
The
now
apparel.
the apparel.
Okay.
So because I'm very creative, even though I'm in physics, but I like to draw. I'm always on my creative sides because I have this mild dyslexic, so I don't really like reading.
Okay.
It's not that I don't really like reading. I cannot concentrate on like, and then I have some mild ADHD when I was young.
Okay.
So I cannot sit still, like.
Huh.
But somehow my creative part is like working very well. So I doing design a lot.
Right.
So since I was young, I already started to draw. And then my friend looked at my drawing and said, "Hey, why don't we do baju with this?"
Huh.
So that is where we go. And okay, when you want to do something and you are not good at that business yet, so we took time about 6 months for us to attend a lot of training. So luckily at that time Google already have. So we grew searching who has these courses on silk screening, on how to do our own like heat press,
Right.
baju and
How
everything.
to print your own
How
t-shirts
to
lah,
print
basically.
your own t-shirt. And then nowadays I notice a lot of DIY already,
Yeah.
they print t-shirt. But back in those days, we need to learn, and I spend 1,000 just to learn about all this. And during school days at that time, for you to spend up to 1,500 to 2,000 just to learn additional information or additional experience or skill, is quite hard for me lah.
Yeah.
Because
So where did you get the
as a
money
guy-
from at that point?
Yeah, at the same time, I have a lot of other business,
other-
so I
others
jual
action.
anything. Okay,
Ah.
as I told you, when you come to a point that making money is so easy, even selling top up also, I open up. So I have like I'm in a college, so I have a printer and I have a phone. So I said, what can I do with this? So I do the photocopy services. So people will come to my room, and then they will just like ask me, okay, I need to photocopy this, because most of the kedai, sometimes the student they do the kerja last minute, right? So pukul 12, pukul 1 baru nak siap, and then they need to print out. So mana ada kedai buka at that time?
Right. Yeah.
There is no shop open.
That's
So
cool.
so I started to
Print for them
started to
lah.
print for them, and every each one, so I get the money lah. And then I started using that money, kumpul-kumpul. So attend the class. So I attend the training for silk screen.
Right.
And I do okay. To acquire ideas and skill, that is one thing. But to manage the business is another thing. So this is where I noticed how things go. So I attended a lot of events whenever we already printed out. So at that time, because we don't really have that much money to print like in bulk, like for instance 1,000 shirt. So we print like 2 to 5 only
Right.
for each design.
Okay. Yeah. And
So-
different sizes lagi.
And
yeah.
different sizes lagi. But so all one lah.
Yeah.
S, X, S, something like that. So after that, so I attended a lot of events. So whenever school have like this, what you call it, event lah, macam the college opening or any event like all that. So we take a booth, and one of the good thing when you're a student and you want to open a booth, so our price is cheaper compared to the outsiders.
Probably,
So
yeah.
for instance, the booth for 10 by 10 feet, they charge for 3 days during convocation, right? It's about 1,500. So for student, it's only 300. So I take this opportunity to open up my booth, and then we go around all those trade exhibition. We try to set up, so we kumpul duit, and then I noticed I've been spending a lot of time waiting at the booth, because first of all, your brand is still new and no one know about you.
Yeah.
So that is where it hits me. Like, we need to do something, and at that time there is no Facebook marketing ads, so I just post something from the Facebook. It keep on hitting up to me. It keep on hit me. How am I gonna reach out to the mass market? So marketing at that time is so expensive because digital marketing was not the thing. Digital marketing is kind of new. So we are not that well exposed about digital marketing at that time, which is 15 years ago. And then most of the marketing, when you talk about above the line and below the line, is expensive. Especially when you want to do advertising, even the signboard, it
Oh,
can
yeah.
cost about
Yeah,
200,000, something like that. So how I started with my marketing is actually upon recommendation. I asked my friend to help me to sell, and then I give agent. Okay, I said that if you sell, I can give you commission. At that time, I don't even know that is considered agent commission.
Right.
So
It's
we
just a
already
model lah that you
it's just
decided.
something. So okay, you sell this, I give you cut lah. Okay, you manage to sell one baju, it's only like 15 ringgit. I give you 3 ringgit.
Ha.
For student, 3 ringgit is something, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like considered that one daily meal also you can get 3 ringgit. So that is how I noticed about that. But at that time, I was not, I don't know the term yet. What is all this term? And I'm surprised that I've been practicing all this when I was young. So and then during Hari Raya, I paling suka whenever we have festival. For me, during festival time is the most excited time for me, because that is where you start to be creative. Jual lah kuih raya, baju or whatever. You just
Yeah.
go to, and then I can, at that time I have this place whereby Pasar Borong, right? So I just buy. So I have like 1,000. Okay, what are the things I want to buy based on my ideas? Okay, so and then I start to sell. So I buy barang. So I already start trading business at that time. Whereby
Ah.
I so don't know
And
what
this
is
is still
that.
during the university time lah.
Yes, all this is
Okay.
during university time. As I told you, I need to survive.
Right.
So I already started with all this business model, but without me knowing what
Ah.
is the istilah lah, what is it exactly what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
So what happens after university?
So what happened to university? I tried to get a job in physics. It's very hard.
So at the same time, you know, you got this passion for businesses, but from a career standpoint, you still
Okay,
went traditional lah in a way.
the career part itself, because when you talk about physics in Malaysia, we are doing research based, and when you talk about research based, is that in Malaysia we are more towards engineering, we are more towards applied. So and then I remember during my degree after I graduate, so when I asked for, because study physics is very hard and especially in UM. So when I apply for a job, and then they even asked me to sit for another interview to recognize me as an engineer. Okay, in overseas, physics is, sorry to say to the engineers outside, for physicists, we are supposed to be the higher level, because we are the one that create the business model for that, create the things, like for instance, my study at that time is polymer electrolyte, electrical vehicle car. So I already started to study to do research on that 15 years ago. So when I want to apply for a job, any job, they ask me to sit for another exam just to recognize me as an engineer.
Oh, I see.
So you are
So
downgrading me, you know.
Yeah.
So
You're not even as good as an engineer yet.
yeah. So no. How to say this? We are the brain behind those engineer that prototype. We do the prototype, and then we pass it to the engineer for them to do the mass production, the quality control, all that. But we are the one that do the research for the engineers.
Okay.
So when they ask us to do this, you are like considering like downgrading us to another level. So as I told you, it's very hard. It took me about 6 months for me to go and find job, and then I said, and then my lecturer asked me to, okay, how about you help me with some of the research, because they do need some research study because we have grants for the university. And then that is how clever my supervisor is. You do research first lah for 6 months. And then, how about you convert into your master, because you already done it halfway. So automatically, I took master at that time.
Right.
But Alhamdulillah, after my master study, it's easier to get job, because when you are in a research base, it's actually your line, your direction is actually a researcher, educator, meaning pencara lah, is a lecturer, or more towards academic. Because you are more towards that. And the kilang. And the what you call it, the factory in Malaysia, mostly they only wanted engineers.
Right.
They don't need the research
The
based
research
people,
one,
because like for instance, Western Digital, the one in our tu. So all the research is done in the parent company, which is back in Germany.
For them, it's just manufacturing je lah.
Yes. So that's why I say in Malaysia, they require more engineers compared to the researcher. So whereby the research based people will only need their option is only in the academic line. So it's very hard. So that is where I noticed something about my line of study. I'm not to say this to my dad, but when when I was young, because my dad is already he's an engineer, so in his point of view, if you become a physicist, it's very easy for you to penetrate any market. You can be an engineer, you can be a lecturer, you can be a lot of other things.
Right.
But
You
well,
found
that
it different
well,
lah.
that after I graduate, it doesn't it doesn't come out as what we expected.
Right.
So that is how it turns out. Yeah. So after during my after my master, it's easier for me to get a job, and I managed to get into Petronas.
Okay.
And because of I have like a family traits of all my uncle, my father, all that are
Semua oil
from
and gas.
Petronas.
Hmm.
So it's easier for me to go in. Within my second interview already managed to get in. So it's very easy. So at that time I was they positioned me, they put me in CSR under education development and the engineering. So what I did is I need to create a model for the education kit, like for robotics, and then a drone. At that time, drone we do it using Lego.
Okay.
So we sell this program to school. So I do it. So we are considered more of the education CSR for Petronas. So they park us under the Petroscience actually. You know Petroscience?
Yeah.
But actually there is a research. So I'm the one that modeling the what you call it the engineering part, because at that time we have STEM, science, technology, EM, and mathematics, engineering and mathematics. So we are using that STEM module based on the government initiative. So we try to promote the.
So
the
you're
program.
developing the programs lah, and the
Yeah.
education programs for.
Yes, and at that
Petronas,
time, my first program that I did, which is something I consider is as my baby, it is considered the tinkering program.
Okay.
Tinkering meaning you come up with any ideas, you tinker yourself. You try to do something, and then suddenly you can using an Arduino board, chip board. So you can do something like the kipas yang pusing-pusing tu. So you can take it into a time, a clock. You can. So
Right.
you just do an Arduino. So what I did is we do something like this. We try to make science easy for people. So at that time, tinkering part, so we have a room. It's a very big room. So you just come in. So we already stand by all the materials for you, like all the not chainsaw lah, all the things that you want, like kayu or anything. So you just build up something using your creativity.
Right.
So this is considered the tinkering program. And at that time, when I did my research, it was very famous in France. They started in France. So this tinkering, they have like one big museum. It's just for tinkering. So and then within 1 year, I said to myself, I want to do something new, because maybe because I'm very like go-getter type of person. So I say I tak boleh duduk diam lah, because I know that I'm needed more outside there.
Right.
So I decided to get out and then try to find different industry for me to join in. And then I started my business, Meraki. And during my Meraki business, I keep saying to myself, because I already done my SWOT analysis, what is my what you call it, my strength, what is my skills, and then what is the opportunity that I can see in the market. And then based on the experience, coupled with the experience that I had before, so I said to myself, as I told you, business, no matter how good your business, not how good your product is, your services is, if you don't know how to market it in the market, right, you still go nowhere. So I said, okay, how about I started with branding, marketing, and event management, because all this is interrelated with each other.
So when was this? When you set up Meraki?
I knew that I want to have this Meraki business 7 years ago. That is where I came across during my solo traveling. I like to travel. At that time, during my college years, I dah kaya kan. So I travel a lot.
Right.
I travel to Japan. I travel to a lot of places alone. And then, so I came across these Meraki words. Meraki stands for putting your heart, your soul, and creativity into creating something great.
Okay.
So
What
that
language is that, Meraki?
It's a Greek word.
Okay.
Yeah, so I said to myself, when I first came across that word, I said I want to have a business, and I name it Meraki, and that was 7 years ago. And I managed to make the dream become realization. I managed to realize the dreams 3 years back.
Okay.
So that is where I start incorporate Meraki. So now I'm doing that.
So what is Meraki for people who don't know?
Meraki, it is a branding, marketing, and also event management company. And a funny story, I'm not sure whether this is funny. For me, it's a good story. During MCO, I noticed that there's a lot of business that is having some trouble, right? Because a lot of business has been kept held. They cannot go out. They cannot open business. But me, on the other hand, the second week of MCO, I already start busy. I am so busy. As you know, event management at that time, you cannot do event, right? So
Right
one
now
of
lah,
my
you mean?
business, right now, and also back like 2 months
When
back.
it first happened, yeah.
Yeah, so I got 3 big events that's supposed to held, all get cancelled, and then I need to refund back all the money. So we are expecting like some amount of money, because when you talk about event, these are one of the major income for my company. But all that 3 gone from March event, April, and also it's supposed to be early June also. Everything is cancelled, so it's okay. So I was quite down during the MCO, because okay, I dah tak ada kerja lah. But somehow or rather, as you know, people start to freak out, and they know that it is high time for them to digitalize their business. And Alhamdulillah, this is where Meraki and then my people started. It started like my friend who own a business, and they are having some trouble, saying that I don't know how to make my business okay, how to do business, because I have a shop, physical shop. I don't know how. So they haven't digitalized their business yet. So they called me just to ask for consultation, just to ask my opinion. So I talked to them. Oh, okay, something like that. And I said to them, how about you? Okay, when you talk about branding and marketing, branding falls under not just logo. A lot of people, when they talk about branding, it's all logo. No, actually, in my company, what we do is branding. We see how to strategize your business. We brand it, how to get known to the market. And part of it is digital marketing. Part of it is to digitalize your business, meaning create a website for you. If you have product, create an e-commerce base for you. So, and then we market it. So I give him my experience and expertise, and some of the advice that I can offer to him, my services. And that is where it started to hit me. This is the time for me to really reach out to all these business owners.
Right.
And Alhamdulillah, yeah, I've been busy since then. Even
Okay.
for Raya, second day of Raya, I already start like busy on my phone
Yeah.
and do something. Yeah.
So what are the services then that you would do to help traditional companies, like, if you like to go online and be digital?
Yeah, it's more like as you say just now. I will look through. Okay, most of the traditional business, they already have Facebook. So and then some of them, they are not aware about the power of Facebook ads. The power, because you can reach out to more people, because we in Facebook you have this algorithm. Even though you have like 20,000 followers, but actually only 7 to 10% of your followers that can reach out to your post.
That can see your
That
post
can
lah,
see
no
your
problem.
post, yes, apparently. So you still need to put some money in order for you to boost your post or do some ads, so that you can reach out to more. So this is where I will teach them how to. And then some of them, they have Facebook, so they sell things, because they are like small business owner, right? So they like home based product, home cooked product. So what they do is they just post it in their personal website, personal page. So I asked them to make it more. The direction for them is to make it more professional, so that people know you are not like a cikai-cikai type of business. You know, the small. Actually, you can put your standard out there.
Right.
So even though you said that, oh, I just buat kerja belakang rumah at dapur, masak-masak whenever I have order. No, when you say that you want to do business, the first thing you need to do is you need to see yourself as a business owner and a professional business owner. So I said to him, if you don't have budget to create her or him lah, if you don't have the budget to create a website, because website now is about 3,000 minimum for you to do, so you can start with a Facebook business page. So some of these also, they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I teach all these makcik kia and something like that.
So right now, how
to
do you
be-
do that? How do you help people out right now? Now that you cannot meet them.
Oh, okay. Okay, usually what I do is, we already started with Zoom session. We already know about all these Webex, Zoom and everything. Okay, first thing first is how to change the mindset. To reach out to them, for me, is no problem. I have no problem to reach out to them. But one of the hardest thing for me is actually how to change their mindset. So in order for me to change their mindset, is actually for me to, we call and ask her what is exactly her vision or his vision on the business itself. So you want to be the best home cook meal in Malaysia. So you always need to have that kind of high vision. From there, we go backwards. Okay, in order for you to do this, what are the things that you required? So that is where I started to get them to understand about the branding and marketing, the power of branding and marketing in a business. Because I told them, and I also told them that I've done business before, and I know if you don't really know how to marketize your business in the market, it's very hard for you to reach out to them.
Yeah.
So we backtrack. So once they understand, easy, kasih quotation.
Okay. Then what do you do?
Then after the quotation, that is where the money comes in and everything. So we started, okay, if you have the money, okay, we do website. So usually during the website development, it will take me about 2 weeks to 1 month. It depends on how hard the website is. And sometimes for them to write down about their business also, they have trouble.
Yeah.
It's like their business nature, they don't really have this like clarity in how they want their business to be. Because they said that actually akak ni just buat main-main je, macam just for free time because
Yeah.
MCO not doing anything.
Yeah.
I said, kakak nak buat business ke tak? Kalau kakak tak nak buat business, kakak duduk diam-diam. I cakap macam tu. You know, I'm very straightforward because for me, business is actually a principle. You need to have a very strong principle in order for you to be in the business industry.
You either do it or you don't lah.
Yes. And then the risk is always there. I always say the risk is always there. When you talk about business, I fail in my other business like how many times. So I know. And then the resilience is very important. So I keep on saying to people lately, because I've been having a lot of interview session and also panelists, invited as panelists. I said that now is no longer survivor the fittest. Last time, the traditional way of doing business, even though during economy recession, if you still have like enough money to support your business, then you can still survive during the economy recession, right? But now it's actually the survivor, the quickest or the fastest lah. So whoever managed to digitalize their business during the recession, and they managed to survive and start to gain traction from people, they are the one that can survive in this industry. So these are the things that I said to you just now, that the mindset need to be corrected when you want to talk to the business owner.
So from your own capability, from the business lah, from Meraki standpoint, so obviously this migrating traditional companies into digital, is this something that's fairly new even for you guys to do, or have you been doing this when you started the business 3 years ago?
I already know about this. I already started this. At that time, I already have this vision of Meraki. Our strong core value, because I don't know how I'm 31 years old right now. So we already started with all this digital and gadgets since we were young. So some of us, so in terms of and then coupled with my experience in physics, so I already started with all this coding, all that. I already started. So my passion in technology is very high.
Right.
So
it's always there
I already know that Meraki, part of the Meraki thing is actually to digitalize people, to help people how to make their business go moving towards technology, in line with the technology. Because if not, you'll be fall back. You kan ketinggalan lah.
Yeah.
So these are the things that I already know. And then at that time, I thought of starting Meraki, because in order for you to ketuk pintu orang, to knock on business owner door saying that I'm a business consultant, you need my help. You are nobody at that time. People will not know you, and then people will never give you muka. They don't give you the chance to do it. If I knock on Maybank door, you think they will entertain me? So something like that.
Unless you want to open an account lah, we will let you in lah.
Yeah. So at that time, I said to myself, branding and marketing, maybe I put on hold first during my 3 years before that. So I try to penetrate the market using event management.
Okay.
So that is where, if you can see in my LinkedIn, I started with events.
Right.
Because for me, in order for me to gain trust with a company, you started as an event management company. You said that I can do event for you. Like for instance, you want to do launching for this new co-working space, I can do the event for you. And at that time, I already incorporate all this digital marketing. So I already know, like, you need to promote it in Facebook, you need to promote it in all the digital media platform, you need to here and there. It's already incorporate. When you talk about event management, people thought it's just a conventional way. Pergi jumpa supplier ataupun event ke apa semua, okay, ambil catering and no. In my standpoint, I already know how to digitalize it already, even though in event. So
But I'm surprised that's not something that's typical for customers to think about. when they run an event. Surely, even 2-3 years ago, when you do run your own events, to push it out there, you would have thought, yeah, of course you do it on all channels, including digital channels, right? So,
Yeah.
but what you're saying is almost like not quite. Some people still think it's
Yeah, some
English,
people still take it because you come from the GRC, and most of somehow my business client, my
Mm.
client base mostly are startup.
Hmm.
So most of it is still
Or new
to
companies
them.
lah.
Mostly because as I told you, for a new company, for me to penetrate the big industry is very hard.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of competitors which are more experienced and more established than Meraki. So I start with a small SME and medium, small and medium scale first. So that is how I plan myself. As I told you, in business, your business model is the most important thing.
So let's go back to that a little bit in terms of your own customer, right? So who are they, and how did you start? How did you start knocking doors on finding SME customers, and which types of industries?
Okay, I don't know. Somehow, as I told you, I marketize myself, and somehow the words is very important.
When you say you market yourself,
yeah,
what do you mean?
so when I market myself, I already know whom I want to target. Because as I told you, it's very hard for me to compete with the other big agencies, right? Marketing agencies. So I already know back in my mind that I want to help the startup.
Okay.
Because I know how hard it is for me to start a business, and at that time I know how important branding and marketing it is.
And when you say startup, what kind of startup? Technology based, different industry,
It is,
or just somebody
it is
starting a
all.
new
Yeah,
company?
starting a company. Okay, okay. I have this one habit that I like to talk. As you know, you can see me been
Oh,
talking
it's good on this
non-stop.
program, keep going.
When I first started Meraki, I know 6 months before I start Meraki, I already go out and do business networking. I already go out and say hi to everyone that I know. And somehow rather, I don't know whether this is something, I think one of my core value and core strength in meeting people is that when I listen to someone talking or business owner, even though they don't even have the intention to do business, when I talk to them, I can see right through them that what exactly they want. So for instance, he is actually working with, for instance, I'm talking to you, right? Cik Amran. So I listen to what you talk, and then I will try to hit something. So do you have any planning to open up your own business before you retire? So these are the questions. So I get answer by questioning them. So this is how I manage to korek-korek. So
Right.
I noticed that by doing all this korek-korek, right? This and then I said if you have, like, for instance, you want to do business and you need help, you can just reach out to me. I can help you to do business proposal. So during my college years, I already started doing business proposal for businesses.
Okay.
That is my another part-time, not to say part-time lah, something like freelance based. So during my young years, I already know how to ask for cradle fund. At that time, I was just 24 years old. I already start do business model for business proposal for my cousins, my uncles, my relative, for my friend who wanted to start business. So I already started that, and
How
so
to
it's
apply
very,
for all kinds of different
yes. So I
grants
already
and
know
things.
how it is, and Alhamdulillah, during these years, I was also been invited to be the judge for business pitching, especially in universities. Uni Razak last time, and then MIHAS. During MIHAS, there is a business pitching competition. So I was invited to be part of the judge. So in terms of doing this, I know exactly what are the judges, the people. And then for Mara also, last time I went to Mara, not Mara, I think Selangor, somewhere in Selangor. They are the one that give grant to business owner. So I already talk to them. I already sit down to them with them. What are the things that you actually want in when you looking at people's proposal? So from there, I already know already. So when I talk to people, I try to what you call it, try to see
To
what are
understand
the
lah, what
try
it
to
is,
understand, and then try to know what is the secret. And I managed to convert a lot of them from working as a working people, like for instance, they have like this paid job, and then some of them already started business already, just because of that vital point when they meet me and I ask them exactly what they want in life. And I said to them, if you want to do business, you can do business. Okay, when you see that you say that you want to do business, after I retired, And do you know how hard business is? My dad considered retired lah, 50 something, started a business, and the first shop, second shop, fail, open, close, something like that. So you need to start now in order for you to know that when you are retired, you already have a stable business. So these are the things that I changed the business owner mindset.
Right.
So that is how I managed to gain traction with all these people. And until now, some of them are still in contact with me, and I still helping them with their business modeling.
Okay.
So the saddest part is because I'm young. When you talk about when you are young, it's very hard for them to have like this kind of respect because they say
Or
that
trust lah even.
the trust, because to them you are just tahun jagung, right? You're still young. But
lama tak dengar that term. Yes.
So it's very hard because this is the things that I notice. So my future planning also, I'm intended to do my PhD in business. Because
To get some of the theory lah, since you've been learning from real life.
not to get some of the theory, because I'm actually during my all these years, after I helping a few business owner, I wanted to come up with my own incubator program for business owner. So based on the experience and the consultation that I done for the business startup. So these are the research that I want to do, incorporate with the people are still talking about IR 4.0, but actually now it's already IR 6.0. So I need to like be more ahead than a lot of people. And so, and then I remember last year I received an entrepreneurship award, Women in Entrepreneurship Award. So I was on stage receiving the plaque, and then we took pictures with some of them. Side by side is all doctor, professor, Dr. Datin, Datuk, and something like that, you know. And then Siti Mariam. So it's like Datuk. So I look around and say,
You need to
oh
have
my
some
God.
title in front.
So I was like, I need to do something about this. So these are the future plan that I want to do.
So back to your observation of people about entrepreneurs, kan? What do you think? Is there a business person in everybody, or actually some people are born to do it and some people are just salary workers?
I'm very happy you asked me this question because recently I wrote it in my LinkedIn saying that this has been a debate for the past decades, that during I think dulu entrepreneurship term is not there. They just see you as a businessman, right? I think just lately, about 10 years ago, then this entrepreneurship term keep on booming here and there, become entrepreneur, something like that. So there is a debate about it about a decade ago, that are you born to be an entrepreneur or you are made to be an entrepreneur? Based on my experience, as I told you, that's why I talk about my mom's story just now. She was never a business woman. She never worked in a corporate company, so she don't know the basic knowledge of actually doing business. And but she already have this kind of interest or passion that she want to make money on her own. So I can see actually it's all depend on your want. From your what you want, your desire and your passion, that is how you turn it into something to make it a reality. So my mom was not born to be a business woman, or not born to have her own company. She know nothing about having SSM registration, also she doesn't know. But what she know is she need to do something in order to survive and put food on the table. So the surviving kid is actually a very important drive for you to start your own business. So she was not born to be a business, but she turned herself. The situation forced herself
to become
one. And how you retain, or how you're resilient in doing business, because sometimes you're doing business will be up and down. You have a good income and then suddenly 1 month you have nothing. So that is where your passion comes in. If you are very passionate about doing business, you can survive through all the challenges and hurdles along the journey. And that is how I see my mom open, close business, kena tipu dengan orang, kena ni everything, sampai pernah kena until one time tu, we remember that we been cheated by someone that we trusted. When we go for a vacation, the whole family vacation, when we come back, we open up, we try to contact the guy that's supposed to take care of our shop, and then didn't for the past 2-3 days. So we go back, and then my mom already has this instinct,
feeling
bad
lah.
feeling. We angkat the balcony, what is it called?
The shutter,
The shutter, and we see all our stuff inside the kedai all gone.
Dia borong semua. Dia
Yes.
jual, man.
Yeah, so these are the situation, but
But that's what
kena
you what
tipu and everything.
you learn lah.
And then I was like very young at that time. Can you imagine? I was just 16 years old when this thing happened. So I can see how my mom like really terduduk dekat tikar semayang, you know, because this thing like suddenly happen. You have a business, suddenly you don't have
Yeah.
all the things inside gone. And that guy like really we don't know where he went. But we managed to get him lah because dia pun tipu orang dekat Genting Highland. So dia kena lagi teruk padan. So yeah. So in terms of doing business, there are always risks and you never know what will happen. So that is where I see, based on my family experience, that is how had me come up with a business model which is economy proof, economy recession proof, and then sustainable, financially sustainable, something like that. It's all because of what happened to my family.
So do you think if your dad didn't lose his job and then your mom didn't go into business, do you think you would have become an entrepreneur?
Oh, that is a very hard question. Oh, come to think of it,
Or do you think that, you know,
I-
if maybe if let's say you didn't see it from your mom?
Okay, I better. Okay, I think, is it okay for me to talk about this story? Okay.
Of course.
I think I like doing business since I was young, because at that time I remember when I was 7-8 years, we have this hamster.
Okay.
So one thing about hamster, they are rodent, right? And they really like to make babies. So I have this small pet because it's cute and everything. So it started like as a one small, hamster house. And then because they really like to make babies within a month, and then suddenly we need to tambah. So the hamster house is become like a, I don't know, like a mansion. Tambah sini, tambah sana, because they keep on.
Expanding the family. So you need the space.
So I said to myself, what can I do with this? Because it's too much. At that time I was very young. I was just, how many? At that time 8-9 years old. So I said to myself, okay lah, I don't know what to do. So because it's too much, and then my mom keep on bising, and I'm the one that kena kemas most of the shit and everything.
Yeah.
So I said I cannot also handle. So I have this kotak tissue. I put the hamster in the kotak tissue. I bawa pergi sekolah. I
Okay.
go to the school. And then I cakap, comel tak? Cute tak? Comel ni. So it's so cute. Oh my god. So murah je, RM5. And then they say, okay, dia bawa. Lepas tu kan, and then the best part is people, because I know very well that people like cute things, especially women. So I managed to sell it like hot cake, during college. I just bring using kotak tissue only. So and then pandai-pandai lah. I don't know, after I just jual, I don't know what to. And then some of them bring back the kotak tissue. Then my mom tak kasih I bela lah. So no refund. I can take back, but no refund.
no
Your RM5 cannot give back already. So okay lah. So when I was young, I already started that one. So
maybe it's already built in, kan?
It's already built in. Maybe the passion is there already.
And circumstances will then push you to pursue it lah.
Yeah, I think so. So that's why I said this has been a debate since for a decade.
But on the flip side,
yeah.
on the flip side, have you ever met people who tell you, okay, I want to do this business and all that, and then you instinctively say, actually, maybe running a business is not right for you lah.
Oh, many. I'm sorry, many times. To be honest, yes. It's actually is how I look at that person. There is a term called fickle-minded people. For me, for doing business, I try to avoid fickle-minded people. Fickle-minded meaning it's very hard for you to make a decision. For those people, especially Pisces guy or people lah, it's very fickle-minded. When you are fickle-minded, it's very hard for you to stick on the vision and mission that you have want to. As I told you, when you do business, it's all about principle. For instance, I should meet you like for 2 weeks ago, for instance, but because it's a principle, you have that kind of drive. I need to meet this guy, something like that. So you have that aim. So similar like business also. When you have that aim, and you need to stick to it. And you keep on changing your vision, your staff having trouble to follow you. Your co-worker, your business partners will have trouble, and that is where business start to collapse. And I've seen it with my own eyes many times. So these are the things that sometimes we can foresee this person cannot do business, but I never say no to something. One thing about me, I'm very optimistic.
Right.
I always say that boleh je, we are Malaysia, boleh. So what I will advise him, find a business partner that can help you to guide you through to make you stay in this business longer. If you do this alone, I don't think you can make it.
Right.
And I say this right to their face, because sometimes the cold hard truth need to be said to their face. I tak reti nak, the running around the bush or what sugar coating or something like that. No. If I know something and my instinct is very strong, I notice that my instinct is very strong. I already say it to their face, saying that you need to have a business partner. So, and then if this person trusts me with my words, what he did is he will come and ask to interview some of the people that he might think that would be good for him to run the program, to partner with, to run the business together. So that is where I help him to assess. So I always say that it's okay, even though you don't have the what you call it, the intrinsic value, or what you call it, you don't have the core value as a business owner or business entrepreneur. You can partner with someone that have that. So I believe in partnership and collaboration since I was young. So, and then because human, we are not perfect. We always need, if we are perfect, we can do things all by ourselves, right? But in life, no one is perfect on their own. No man is an island. So I keep on saying that the value that you have, maybe you are good at talking, maybe you are good at negotiating, but you are not good at handling your business. So this is where you need to find a partner, business partner, that can do the things that you that can complement the business model that required in order for you to make this business a success. So it's okay to partner, because I always believe that rezeki masing-masing, everything is terletak already. So you just need to know the way how to do it.
So you need to put aside your ego lah, kan? As a business owner, look, you cannot. You don't think that you can do everything lah.
Yeah, usually if those business owner who have a very strong ego, I said that you come back to me in 3 years time, and then I want to assess and see how good you are doing business. I just say like that, because okay, some people when they do business, they die want that die. So they really like want that client. I will try my best to entertain this client, to try to get his trust, to get this business. Me on the other hand, for me, if you have this client who have a lot of problematic client, it's better for you not to take them. So I am very selective in doing business, because I only have those people who are really keen but they don't know the way. So my job is actually just to show them the way. So for those people who are not that keen but they want to do business, they are not that keen, they only look at the money and figures, and so I say that is not the right way, because in doing business there is no such thing as once you do business, you terus jadi millionaire. No, it is a probability game. The more you fail, actually, the more you are succeeding. I always believe that the more you fail, the more you are succeeding. Meaning, if you keep on failing in something, it's actually you need to learn from what you have done, and that is how you move forward. So don't afraid of fail. Last time. Okay, do you have any question before I?
No?
Okay. I had this interview with Miss Farisha. She interviewed me about women empowerment. So I did. She asked me, what are your advices to those people who wanted to be a woman entrepreneur? So I did give her some of the things that and then somehow I managed to get a message from LinkedIn itself, and say that, Mariam, I'm really inspired by your thoughts and your advice. I wanted to quit my job as a corporate, and I want to start my own business. I said that, hold on a second, please give me a call. Hold on to your thoughts and please give me a call. So that is where I talked to them. I talked to that the lady, that person, and I said, doing business is not as easy as what you think, because I gone through many hardship in order for me to be where I am today. Until now, I still don't consider myself successful, because my aim is to be Tan Sri Rafiq Aziz. So until I didn't get that title or that aim that I want. For me, I still consider I'm still in my learning curve. And then I said to her, don't quit your job, because it's not that easy as what you think. You need to learn first how to do business, and then when you manage to have like this business that can sustain your basic needs and expenses, then you let go of your corporate life. Then you go on to your business. Then you go headstrong with your business. But because I see a lot of people in life, this is human knowledge. In life, one of the things that demotivate people is actually when they have financial crisis. So I met a lot of business owner that decided to, okay, it's high time for me to quit my job as a corporate life, and start a business. And but back in their later that they know, they have BMW kereta they need to service. They have this car loan or housing loan they need to service, and minimum expenses that they need at least for them to survive is 10,000, for instance. You cannot do business with that kind of what you call it,
Baggage lah.
baggage. So
From day one straight away.
that is why I said when you want to do business, the mindset is much important. I said that if you want to do business, one of the thing is I want you to let go of all the things that you have, because when you're doing business with a very big, a very big responsibility back in your head. Because business itself is something a lot of things you need to think, right? You need to think about client, how to get customer, how to retain your staff. Staff pun satu hal, staff and everything. Your at the back of your head, at the end of the month, you need to meet ends meet. How are you going to do that? So if you really want to do business, let go of all the things that you have, make it very minimal, just a basic minimum for you to survive, and make sure if you are a husband, make sure your wife don't quit your job. Don't do sama-sama, I nak buat business sama-sama. No, make sure your wife is still working, or if you are the wife, make sure your husband is still working. Either one of them. At least give a time gap, at least 1 or 2 years. Try first. I always say to people, if you want to start do business, try first, because not many people think that doing business is their cup of tea. Sometimes it's not their thing.
Sometimes people see the glamorous side lah,
Yes.
but they don't see the
They don't see the
the hardship below.
the hardship. Yeah. So and until now, I still believe in lower down my expenses so that we can invest more on the business. So I always say that wherever business that I have, or wherever revenue that I have, I make sure 70% go back to my business, reinvest back in my business, and only use 30%. So if you can do that, if you change your mindset saying that 70% is actually for my money, for me to pay my BMW car or something, the 30% then we invest back in the business, it will never work. Because these are the some of the small things that, as I told you, I've been consult few business, and I see with my own eyes that it doesn't work. So you need to put more effort in your business when you do business, especially your fund. So during this COVID, usually business owner, at least they have the access or fund, what you call it, emergency fund or the access fund, at least for 6 months. So some of the business owner who already know this importance, they can survive already. If the COVID running until September, to them they are still okay. They can still pay their staff.
Yeah.
If within 3 months you collapse, that shows that you are not doing a very good business management
In the first place lah.
Yeah.
So just to close off, it's almost an hour already. Yeah, time flies. Just wanted to get into the Sisters of Success. So what's that? That sounds interesting.
No. Actually, this is something, as I told you, I'm very I'm very strong believer in women empowerment. That's why most of my what you call it, NGOs that I participate, and is mostly based on women empowerment, leadership, women in leadership, something like that. So I have this sister of success because I'm not married yet, and I've been going around with a lot of girls and everything. Somehow or rather, they are, even though they are not married, but they hold a very high position in a lot of GRC or even government as government services. So some of them, I see it as something that okay, I come up with Sister of Success is because we want to support each other, women, to be successful.
Mm.
And Sister of Success have divided into two. One is Sister of Success in the activities. We can do a lot of activities like marathon. Like I supposed to organize kebaya walkathon
Oh, cool.
for Sister in Success or something like that. So we just wear our glamorous kebaya and just walk around the town. Something like that. So that is
okay.
the event I want.
Mm.
And then another side is doing business,
Mm.
because when I first started doing business, for me, when you already set a goal, when you already set a vision about your business, it's actually that goal and vision is only for yourself.
Mm.
You cannot expect other people to keep on supporting you. So for instance, you have like this cosmetic product. So you cannot be expecting all your girlfriends or your friends or your family members to keep on buying your product,
Mm.
right? Because they also have their own things. Because
Mm.
this, and you keep on saying, support lah I.
Yeah.
But who are they to support you?
Mm.
Even though they are your friend, but how long
How
they
long can
can
they be,
support you? So the vision and mission that you set is actually your ambition. It's already for yourself. So to be honest, doing business for me is a lonely journey,
Mm.
because if anything happen to you, it's actually it's all on you.
Yeah.
The decision that you make is all on you, and you cannot pinpoint this to others. Oh, pasal you lah my business jatuh. Oh, because of this you didn't support me. You see now I'm not. My business is not there anymore. Something like that. No, it's actually it's your own journey. So when I know that become an entrepreneur is a lonely journey, and some people cannot catch up with you because you keep on doing a lot of business, right? So I come up with the Sisters of Success. It's actually is a group to support each other.
Mm.
So on the, I said, one is the activities event to connect all these gathering women yang
Yeah.
tak kahwin lagi, and then we can
A bit
go
more social
yamcha,
lah.
social. Another one is more on the business, whereby I intended to have the session for business, like how to digitalize your business, how to create your own business model canvas,
Mm.
BMC, how to do this something. It's actually to support all these women.
Okay.
Yeah, and so because as I told you, I gone through myself, and I know how lonely the journey is.
Mm.
If you don't have a good support, if you don't have a good support, at least you have you are able to attain or required all these skills and knowledge for you to be succeed, for you to have a success in your business. So that is what my vision of Sister of Success. And and the best part is the event part, the social thing is very easy.
Right.
But the doing the business is something that I need to get the organization HRDF Pro, because at least some people they can claim. And then I already started to be part of business BSc business startup center as a trainer in marketing, in digitalize your business. So I will couple all this knowledge, and then I will put it in the Sister of Success. So this is how I integrated, because as I told you, I believe in partnership and collaboration. So we can cross sell each other's business or also services. So these are the aim that I'm heading to. So yeah, for the Sister of Success.
So you're looking for it to be another business as well lah?
It's
Or
an
is it a
NGO.
network? Or more like a network?
It is
like a network
it is
for-
a NGO. So even the money that, because for me, my aim is actually is to help those B40 people, women. And then I see with my own eyes how, because tak payah pergi jauh lah, you just see your neighbour. Some of them are what you call housewife. They don't do anything, and they started all this small business. How are we supposed to help them with their business? So at least, as I told you, once you already say to yourself you want to do business, make sure you see yourself as a pro, as a professional. So these are the small things. The small thing, at least you know how to do it. Like for instance, you sell makeup, right? But for instance, you sell makanan, you sell food, from home-based food. So suddenly a big company, Maybank, wanted to order 50 of your
50 packs.
50
Okay.
pack for your staff during the launching or something, because they know that your food is nice. You are just a small home-based business. But in order for you to make professional, look professional, your invoice you pakai tangan ke, buku checknya receipt tu ke? That's not right, because I work in a corporate world, so I know we prefer something like invoice,
Yeah.
So I teach them how to use these apps that you can digitalize your accounting. So you can have your own apps, and as long you have a laptop, you just send an email to them with a proper one together
At
with
least
the
it becomes
invoice.
professional lah.
So these are the small things people doesn't see, but actually you can also do it at home.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is my idea lah. I want to do this,
Cool.
but as I told you, I cannot do everything alone.
Yeah.
It's very tiring lah. I cannot be running all the way here and there. So, and I put that on hold, but because at the same time the social part now MCO, so we cannot do that.
Anyway, yeah.
And now I'm positioning myself as a trainer and mentor in some of other what you call it, trainer industry, business training, my friends business training, so that I can bring back all those knowledge and skill for me to have my own system of success under the business part. So these are the ongoing future. I'm the type that I just put there. It's already there. Actually, I already started. But so that I can every day when I see it, I know that this is one of the things that I need to achieve in the long term. So if Maybank have something that have got to do with, we can partnership.
Wah,
I don't know.
keep going, still menjual. But it's good, you know. You always have your entrepreneur hat on lah.
Yeah.
Always.
So,
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for coming in.
That's all. Any question, Cik? From the audience
no,
tadi.
So I think next time, come back again in a few months' time, and then update me on, so how's Sister of Success, and how Meraki has evolved lah from here.
Yes, inshallah. In the long term, actually, I'm also do a lot of social impact investment. So I'm now collaborating and partnership with people around the globe. To actually one of my collaboration and partnership, as I told you, I'm a strong believer in that. So we are organizing like this an organization that what we do is we vet through projects which are social impact to the society that have a social impact value, and then we see how much amount that they need, for instance, for them to run this program or something, for instance 2 million. So what I did is our team did is we will go back and do fundraising. But our specific goal is only for those impact social projects that give value to the society. So then we will either buy up some of their share or something like that, because they are doing some investment in their company and also their projects. So this is something that is already started to kick in.
What's it called?
It's actually RS Impact Venture.
Okay.
R stands for Ras and S stands for City. So actually it's a partnership between me and him. So Impact Venture Asia. RS Impact Asia. So it's our aim is actually goal is to start up in Asia place first, and then we try
Then
to
grow
go out
from
from
there
there. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Maybe that's
That's
something
another
to,
So that's why you
something
can
to
see
talk
me
about
very
later.
busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in next time, I hope that by then RS Impact Venture, I already started to go to a lot with the government or something to do something about this. So we already started. It's just that some of this project requires like big fund, right? More than million. So yeah, that will take quite some time. But in terms of RS Impact Asia, we already start going around and start to do partnership and collaboration with not just in Malaysia but in also other countries.
Sounds interesting.
Asia mah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay lah. So anyway, thanks again for coming in.
Yeah.
So all the best with the business.
Yeah, thank you,
and,
thank you.
Obviously
Thank
there's
you.
new opportunities that has come up because of it, which is good.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.